The doors sealed behind me with a hiss, and 40 pairs of silver eyes locked onto my body at the exact same second. My heart slammed against my ribs. I did not move. I did not breathe. Every instinct I owned was screaming at me to turn around and run back through those doors. But the doors were already gone, folded into the wall like they had never existed. My name is Ethan Bailey. 2 hours earlier, I had been asleep on a cargo shuttle, wearing the same wrinkled uniform I still had on now, dreaming about nothing more dangerous than missing my connecting flight home. Now I was standing in the center of the Vashtar Accord Hall, the tallest structure on a station built by a species I barely understood, and every single woman in that enormous room had turned to look at me like I was something dangerous that had just walked into their den. I was not supposed to be here. I was a logistics officer, not a diplomat. My job was supposed to be simple: deliver a data drive to the human liaison and leave. Instead, the transport pilot dropped me at the wrong entrance. My translator earpiece was still syncing, and I walked straight through the ceremonial doors reserved for arriving delegates. By the time I realized my mistake, I was already inside, already seen, and already the center of attention in a room built to hold the most important beings in 6 star systems. The Ashvari women stood nearly 8 feet tall, with skin like polished silver, and eyes that shimmered like liquid metal under the light. They did not blink the way humans did. They did not shift their weight or whisper to each other. They simply watched me, perfectly still, as if waiting for me to make the first move. I forced myself to breathe. In, out. My hands were shaking, so I pressed them flat against my sides. A voice buzzed in my ear as my translator finally connected. It was Oliver Grant, the human liaison officer, and he sounded like a man watching a car crash happen in slow motion. "Ethan, do not move," he said. "Do not speak. Do not make any sudden gestures. I am coming to you right now." I heard footsteps, fast and heavy, somewhere behind the crowd, but the women in front of me did not part to let him through. They stayed exactly where they were, eyes fixed on me, and I realized with a cold drop in my stomach that they were not going to let anyone move until they understood what I was. A woman near the front took one careful step closer. Her name tag, translated by my earpiece, read Vantha. She tilted her head, studying me the way a scientist studies something under a microscope. "He is not moving," she said to the woman beside her. "His body is rigid. His breathing has stopped twice since he entered." "I am breathing," I said, though my voice came out thinner than I wanted. The room reacted instantly. A ripple of tension passed through the crowd, shoulders straightening, hands drifting toward the sides of their robes, where I now noticed small metallic devices clipped to their belts. My blood went cold. Those were weapons. I had walked into a room full of armed alien women, and every one of them was treating me like a threat. Oliver's voice cracked into my ear again, sharper this time. "Ethan, whatever you do, do not reach for anything. Keep your hands visible. They read bioelectric signals, and yours is completely flat. To them, that looks like a predator hiding its intentions." I did not know what a bioelectric signal was, and at that moment, I did not care. All I understood was that 40 armed women thought I might attack them, and I had no idea how to prove otherwise. I raised both hands slowly, palms open, and forced my voice to stay calm. "My name is Ethan Bailey," I said. "I am not a threat. I made a mistake and walked through the wrong door." Vantha's eyes narrowed slightly. "Your words are calm," she said, "but your body remains still as stone. Among my people, stillness means one of two things. Either you are utterly at peace, or you are a hunter who has learned to hide the sound of your own heartbeat." I felt sweat gather at the back of my neck. "I am not a hunter," I said. "I am tired. I have been awake for almost a full day. I got lost. That is all this is." For a long moment, nobody spoke. The silence stretched so long that I could hear the low hum of the station's engines through the floor beneath my boots. Then, from somewhere near the back of the crowd, a second woman pushed forward. Her name translated as Nira, and unlike the others, her posture was looser, her eyes curious rather than guarded. "Let him move," she said. "If he meant harm, he would have acted already. A predator does not stand frozen in the open. A predator strikes." Vantha did not look convinced, But she did not stop Nira from stepping closer to me. Nira circled me slowly, studying my face, my hands, the stain on my collar from the coffee I had spilled hours earlier on the shuttle. "You smell of exhaustion," Nira said. "Not of danger." I almost laughed, but I swallowed it down, afraid that any sudden sound might set the room off again. "I have not slept properly in 2 days," I said. "I am not dangerous. I am just very bad at reading station maps." A few of the women exchanged glances. I could not read their expressions, but something in the tension of the room began to loosen, just slightly, like a held breath finally released. Then the doors at the far end of the hall slid open, and Oliver finally broke through the crowd, his uniform half untucked, his face pale with panic. He stopped a few feet from me, chest heaving, and raised both hands toward the women surrounding us. "This is a misunderstanding," he said quickly. "Officer Bailey is not a combatant. He is a supply officer. He has no weapons. He has no training in combat of any kind. I take full responsibility for this error." Vantha studied him for a moment, then turned her gaze back to me. "Your commander vouches for you," she said, "but vouching is not proof. Among my people, trust is not given through words. It is given through the body, through the signal every living thing carries whether it wishes to or not. Yours has told us nothing since you arrived." I felt a fresh wave of fear rise in my chest, sharper than before. If words could not save me here, what could? Then I remembered something my grandmother used to say, back when I was a kid too scared to speak in front of a crowd. She told me that fear was not something you hid. It was something you let people see, because the moment you let it show, it stopped controlling you. I let my shoulders drop. I let my hands shake, just slightly, the way they had wanted to since the doors sealed shut. I let my voice crack when I spoke again. "I am scared," I admitted. "I do not know your customs. I do not know what a bioelectric signal even is. I know that I am standing in a room full of powerful people who think I might be dangerous. And the truth is, I have never been less dangerous in my life. I just want to deliver a data drive and go home and sleep for about 10 hours. The room went silent again, but this silence felt different. Vantha stepped closer, closer than she had come before, and studied my face carefully. Something shifted in her expression, something that almost looked like surprise. "There," she said quietly. "Do you see it now?" Several of the women around her nodded, their postures relaxing all at once, like a wave rolling back out to sea. Nira smiled, an expression I had not expected an Ashvari face to make. "His signal moved," Nira said. "For the first time since he entered, it moved. It was not stillness after all. It was restraint. He was holding himself rigid because he was afraid, not because he was hiding something." Vantha inclined her head toward me, a gesture Oliver later told me was a sign of deep respect among her people. "Forgive us, Officer Bailey," she said. "Among the Ashvari, a body without fluctuation is the mark of a predator who has learned patience. We have never before met a species that could hold its fear so tightly inside, with nothing at all escaping to the surface. It frightened us, because we had never seen anything like it." I let out a breath I did not know I had been holding, and my knees nearly buckled with relief. "I am sorry I scared you," I said, and I meant it completely. Vantha's mercury eyes studied me a moment longer. "You did not mean to frighten us," she said, "but you should understand something before you leave this hall today. What you call composure, we call a mask. Every one of us carries a body that broadcasts our hearts openly, whether we wish it or not. Your kind can bury an entire storm beneath a calm face, and none of us would ever know until it broke free." I thought about all the times in my life I had done exactly that. The day my father passed, and I stood at the front of the room delivering his eulogy without my voice ever cracking. The moment my transport ship lost power near an asteroid field, and I calmly walked every passenger through the evacuation drill while my own hands shook beneath the console. I had never thought of that stillness as strange. It was just how I had learned to survive. Standing there, surrounded by beings who could not hide anything even if they tried, I finally understood why they had all turned to look the moment I walked through those doors. It was not because I looked dangerous. It was because I looked like a mystery, a closed door they could not see behind, and in a room full of open books, a closed door draws every eye in the building. Oliver finally handed over the data drive on my behalf, and the meeting continued as if nothing had happened, though I noticed more than a few of the women glancing my way throughout the rest of the proceedings, still trying to read something from a face that gave away nothing. When I finally left the hall hours later, Nira caught up with me near the exit. "You should know," she said, "that most of the delegates have never been as afraid of anything as they were of you in that first moment. And yet you are the gentlest being any of us have met in cycles." I managed a tired smile. "I think that is just what humans are," I said. "We carry storms inside us, and most of the time, nobody outside ever knows they are there until we choose to let them see." She studied me a moment longer, then nodded slowly, as if filing that thought away for later. As I walked back toward the shuttle bay, exhausted beyond words, I realized that I had not just survived a diplomatic disaster, I had accidentally taught an entire room full of powerful alien women something about my species that no textbook or briefing could have ever explained. Sometimes the quietest storm is the one that changes the whole room,